Hello, Gasaholics. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got Gas, the Great American Auto Scene. Since 1990, your source for automotive information, some humor, some technical data, and, well, we talk about cars a lot. So let's start off. You know, the latest issue of Rotting USA has come out. There it is. Yeah, I know it's backwards. It's just my camera. But inside this magazine is a story about engine swapping, or as it's going to become, possibly motor swapping. Yes, that's right. You check out this latest issue, and I'm trying to get to the right page for you. Sorry, I should have had that blocked off. And there it is. It's electrifying. Oh, look at the picture of that guy up in the corner. Does he look familiar to you? Yeah, looks familiar to me too, because, well, it is me. That's right. Every other month you'll find a story in Rotting USA derived directly from me. That's right, I'm there. But one of the things I'm getting to is engine swaps. Now, that's something that's been going on for decades. Matter of fact, since the dawn of cars. People wanted to make their car either better or faster, and a lot of manufacturers gave you that option right away. I mean, you know, people started putting bigger cams in cars, better exhaust systems, multiple carburetors or different carburetors. And when Ford came out with the flathead V8, man, hot rodders, which they weren't called hot rodders back then, came running, and they wanted that engine in their vehicle. Now, later on, the flathead started to lose favor because after World War II, Cadillac, Oldsmobile, Studebaker, and Chrysler specifically were the first ones to hit the streets with overhead valve V8 engines. Now, let's go back a little bit on this one, because Chevrolet was actually one of the first to come out with an overhead valve V8 engine. No, not the 265 V8 that was introduced in 1955, but it was their first engine, V8 engine, in 1917. And it was an overhead valve engine. But back in those days, Willie Durant, who was the head of Generous Motors, didn't want Chevrolet to compete against the high-performance or luxury vehicles. He wanted them to compete against Ford. And after 3 years of production of the V8, it was shelved. I mean, dropped completely. Nothing, no support, nothing. It was gone. Well, there's a lot of stories about that, and some say that's what led to the Chevrolet brothers leaving General Motors. Now, their car and their name stayed, but they walked. Now, that's not to say they didn't get out of building high-performance engines and doing swaps. As a matter of fact, in 1917, the brothers won the Indianapolis 500, and they started a company called Frontenac, or Fronty Fords, as many people call them, where they made overhead valve conversions, overhead cam conversions for the Ford four-cylinders. You got to remember, in the early 1900s, Ford still had not come out with the V8 until 1932 model year. Well, the flathead, that was the engine of choice for hot rodders for decades and decades. And then after World War II, like I said, Olds, Pontiac, Studebaker, yes, Studebaker too, and Chrysler all started bringing out overhead valve V8 engines. And what did the hot rodders do? No, now they're hot rodders. They went to junkyards looking for wrecked cars and grabbed these overhead valve conversion engines, or these overhead valve engines, to convert their flathead-powered cars to modern, at the time, overhead valve V8s. Now, the engine swapping has never stopped, and a lot of people do it. I've got a Chevrolet V8 engine in my Mopar. Oh, the travesty of it all. I know, but you know what? It fit, it was inexpensive, and for the last 20-some-odd years, it's been going strong. Well, it's been a little bit more than 20 years, but you get the picture. Well, V8 engine swaps, four-cylinder engine swaps. I mean, in my Model A, I've got a Chevrolet four-cylinder from a Chevy 2, a Nova four-cylinder. Yes, Nova had a four-cylinder beginning in 1962 through 1970 model year. Not many people realize that, but that was the base engine. Not that many of them came out. Mercury Marine still produces that engine today as a marine engine. But we're losing the point. Okay, I'm losing it anyway, but I've been told that a lot. I'm losing. Anyway, engine swaps have been going on for decades and eternity. But what's happening is what is going to be the next genre of engine swaps. Now, I'm not necessarily in favor of this, but it's happening. It's happening a lot. And a lot of companies are getting involved in electrification. Yes, it's electrifying, because engine swaps are going to be changing to motor swaps. Now, I know a lot of people in the hot rodding genre kind of mix up motor and engine. Totally incorrect, because motors are electric, engines are diesel or gasoline fueled. And you can check that for me if you want. Hi, Chuck. How are you doing today? And Lori, how are you? Pete Muriello, the master mechanic, plumber, electrician. Yeah, don't call Pete. Anyway, the electrification of vehicles is coming, whether you like it or not. And this is the same thing that happened when the flathead was going away and overhead valve engines were coming in place. The flathead was starting to go away, like it or not, and a lot of the people were kind of upset or angry about people using these monkey motion V8 engines to replace the old flathead. Hi, Donnie Couch. How are you doing today? Well, Chevrolet has decided they're going to jump into this foray with an electrification swap. That's right. You can get an E-crate motor. Yeah, I know. If you got a rear-wheel drive vehicle, Chevrolet is offering a crate motor that you can put in your car. It's called the E-crate. It sounds familiar, right? I just said it. And it will go into your vehicle. Now, you'll have to make your necessary motor mounts and so forth to make it fit in. But it's a 60-kilowatt bolt package that feeds the motor, sending 200 whole horsepower. It's not earth-shattering, I know. 266 foot-pounds of torque to a 4-speed automatic. Not enough? Well, Chevrolet confirmed they're looking at new ultimum battery packs that'll eventually join the E-crate lineup, and pricing still to be figured out. But hey, Chevrolet's getting in on this already. You know Ford and Chrysler will not be too far behind. But that's not all. There are other companies set up today that will do this. And when I was at SEMA, there were about a handful of companies that had electrification swaps where you could put them in their cars or your car. And it wasn't all that difficult. I mean, heck, it's not that big. It actually takes up less space. Well, the motor and transmission aspect does. Now, in many cases, the transmission is not used. What do you need a transmission for? What are you going to shift? So the automatic, I mean, Chevrolet's got the automatic. Why? I'm not quite sure. That's added complication, but it depends on the differential ratios and so forth you have as to how quickly the electric motor is going to get your vehicle moving. But remember, an electric motor's torque comes in initially as soon as you step on the throttle. It's full torque. As soon as the electrification hits, as soon as the power hits that electric motor, you've got full torque. It's not like a gasoline engine or a diesel where you've got to get RPM up and speed up to get the torque. This happens with an electric motor right as soon as you touch the pedal. And that's why the Teslas are so quick off the line. We've had a number of them coming out to Irwindale on Thursday nights, and one of them is actually down into the 6-second zone, running at over 120 miles an hour in the eighth. So they are definitely strong and going there. Even Don Garlitz tried to set a record with an electrified dragster. Now, did he set the record? No, someone else did. But the point is, it's going to happen, and it's happening. And you know, this conversion from Generous Motors, that could be an answer to a lot of people who want to build a front motor, and I mean motor, electric dragster. It could happen. It's going to happen. Like it or not, electrification is coming. Now, there's another company called EV West. Now, they've got a special setup where you can get into it and you can electrify whatever you want. There's another company called Garage Italia. They've only done one so far that I can see. Hi, Chris Costanza. And it's a Fiat 500, what they call a Jolly. Now, this was a vehicle made by Fiat with Pininfarina, I believe it was, that converted their small little Fiat 500 into a beach cruiser. Now, it's got a Surrey top in some cases. The one that I'm seeing here that they've done doesn't have the top, but I've inspected and seen a few of these with a little fringed roof on it. And initially, it was designed by the owner of Fiat to pick up his guests when they came to visit him on his island and then take them to the hotel or to the main house. So this is a recreation of that. It's the old Fiat 500, but electrified. Now, we talk about electrification, and it is not a cheap undertaking. First off, you got to have this battery. The battery is heavy, it's huge, you got to figure out how to mount that. Now, I've seen it on TV where a TV star, I won't mention his name, but he's been in a couple of sci-fi type movies. They do it to a Chevy Blazer. Now, Chevrolet has done it as well. It works. If that's what you want to do, do it. But is it cheap? No, you got to be a movie star to do this. Now, one of the things that's come out is a company called GAAS. Now, this company is in sharp contrast to many of the economy-based electric vehicles. They've actually done Rolls-Royce, yeah, Jaguar XK120s, Range Rovers, among a few, but one of their most famous one, and you could have this done to your Rolls-Royce if you want. I mean, you know, come on, guys, just take that Rolls-Royce out. You can't get parts for that engine any longer. Change it to electric. It's only going to cost you roughly $700,000, and they'll convert your car for you. Yes, that's right. Chris Costanza is talking about there were 100 e-bikes and pedals at Huntington Beach Air Show the weekend. Yeah, you know, e-bikes are something else, and Huntington Beach is actually trying to regulate them. They've actually required children or kids that are riding these things under 18 years old, they've got to wear a helmet. They can't go over 15 miles an hour. And that regulation is going pretty good, or it should go well, because it's become an issue. But GAAS will do this conversion for a mere $700,000. Electric vehicles are not for the everyday person. They're for the rich and infamous, or famous, or however you want to call it. Now, one of the things that comes about is, who is going to drive these electric vehicles? Well, if you got the money, you can. If you're in a low economic class, not going to happen, because the cost is prohibitive. Now, there's another company that's doing conversions called Monument Motors, and they'll do just about anything. As a matter of fact, they prefer sports cars. They prefer sport coupes. They'll do 2002 BMWs, TR6s, Datsun 240s, roll up whatever you want. Monument will do it for you, even replica Chevy Cobras. There's another company, well, Monument Motors also did a Porsche 550 Speedster. Now, this is a replica of the car that James Dean drove and was actually killed in, but it's a very stronger version with a tube chassis. Now, Monument Motors is a high-quality conversion company, and for a mere $75,000 to $150,000, they'll convert yours. Now, what they've also done is, more sports cars. But there's another company called Stealth EV. Now, this is big money builds. They won't tell you how much, but they've done one that's kind of interesting, and it's definitely going to get the ire of many custom car guys, because they took a Merc, a 49 Merc. It's got all the real patina that it came with. It's lowered. It looks cool. It's got a California plate on it from what I can see, and it's a Merc custom. They pulled out the flathead and put in an electric motor conversion. So, but, the cost, who knows? Another company, Totem Automobilia. Now, they have done a really special build. They recreated an Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA with a carbon body. It's cool looking. I like the Alfa body style, but they've done this one to look just like an original car with the racing flared fenders, and it's electrified. All cutting-edge hardware and so forth. The car weighs in at about 3,100 pounds, which is rather light. Goes 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. And if you'd like one, it's a mere $500,000. you can go electrified. How long does it take to recharge these? No one's saying. This particular one has a range of 222 miles, they say. 222? I mean, really? 222? Has 518 foot-pound, or 518 horsepower, 692 foot-pounds of torque, and uses a 50.4 kilowatt-hour battery mounted in the rear. Okay, this could be interesting. Now, for you people who like your little old Beetles, there's a company called Zelectric, zelectricmotors.com, and they'll convert your Volkswagen Beetle or Porsche 356, 911, and so forth into an electric vehicle. They'll do it for a starting price of $68,000 and climbs up another 10 grand to $78,000 or $88,000 if you're trying to do a Porsche 911, 912. And it's got to be the early ones. They're not going to take the late model Porsches. It's a 911, 912 early versions. So those are the small bumper cars, probably 1975 and earlier cars, but they don't specify what year. There's also another company called Zero Labs. Now, Zero Labs makes a complete electrified chassis, and it has a wheelbase that can be used in many different vehicles. And they'll do it. They'll do the conversion for you. They're not saying exactly how much, but they seem to like Broncos, and they've got one running around right now, fully independent suspension. It's got a monocoque-style chassis, and it's electrified, for those of you who want to go that way. It has a beautiful 50-50 weight range, or weight distribution, a range of about 235 miles from a 100 kilowatt-hour battery. Now, as you can see from what I've just said, different battery sizes and different ranges. Why? I don't know. I'm not that technical on this electric stuff. Hi, Bob Moravis. How are you doing? And Scott Knight, thanks for tuning in. Electrification is coming. Engine swaps, they've been around forever. What's the game plan now? Well, to try to avoid emission requirements, get that classic car on the road, because, well, as I've said in the past, California may try and ban that classic car of yours or that collector car. Electrified? Well, they really won't have anything to say about that because you're not polluting the air directly. You're polluting it from the power company. You're letting them put the pollution in the air. You've shifted the pollution, right? Right. They're not counting that. All right, I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got GAAS-Great American Auto Scene. It's electrifying, isn't it? Electrification. It's coming, whether we like it or not. Take care. You've got GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to watch our other show, Talking About Cars on PowerTube TV. Every Wednesday we drop a new show, PowerTube TV. Check it out. Watch PowerTubeTV.com and Talking About Cars with Rapid Randy Kerdoon and myself, Hot Rod Bob. You have a great day. Take care. We'll talk to you again tomorrow with more gas. And basically, my wife says I've got lots to tell you.